This is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and what we're going to do today for you guys is actually introduce you guys and unbox, and I'll give you guys my review of the all-new Dynablend Clean Blender by Tribest. This is the model DB950. So besides selling juicers here at Discount Juicers, we also sell things like blenders, dehydrators, and other appliances and products that allow you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. And as much as I like juicing, I also like blending a lot. I blend every day and I juice every day. Now if I had to choose just one of them, I would choose juicing, based on some of the published scientific research studies I've seen. Not to say that blending is a waste of your time. If blending or any other way you could get more fruits and vegetables in you instead of eating processed foods, junk foods, animal foods in excess, that is definitely a good thing in my book. So usually at night is when I blend my salad dressing, for my fresh salad picked from my garden. And, I'll use a blender, just like the Dynablend Clean, to do that. Now, for those of you guys that are really concerned about, having your food touch plastic parts with all these BPA, BPS, plasticizer scares, and all this kind of stuff, this is the blender you're going to want to get because it's called the Dynablend Clean, because this blender will allow you to minimize and avoid, food touching plastic, because the carafe of this machine is all glass. In addition, the stir stick that you put in the machine to stir the mixture around to get it to contact the blade if you're doing something pretty thick is stainless steel. The whole blade assembly, matter of fact, is actually also stainless steel at the bottom of the machine. And then there's actually a little silicone gasket, which is not plastic, in the bottom of the machine. So I like that a lot. Now, aside just being the most powerful glass carafe blender that I've found, this is a 1.1 horsepower blender with 850 watts of power. It also is a high-speed blender. It runs at 23,000 RPMs is the max RPMs. And a challenge I see with most blenders is that they just actually don't achieve a fast enough speed to really start cutting up whatever you're blending. Now when you leave big chunks in your blender and you swallow those and drink those things, they basically come in one end and they go out the other end, right? We want a blender that is actually really efficient, powerful, has high-speed blades, and runs fast, and can actually chop up all the little pieces of produce to reduce the particle size to the smallest particle size so that you'll have the easiest time to digest them. So I'm proud to say that the Dynablend can do this and is the most powerful glass blender that I've seen and tested to date. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and show you guys some of the recipes you can make with the Dynablend Clean Blender. Things like nutritious green smoothies and fruit smoothies. Those are some of my favorite things to do with the blender when I don't feel like cleaning out my juicer, or when I feel like getting a little bit of extra fiber in me. I'll make a green smoothie or a fruit juice or a fruit smoothie. Also, you can make things like fresh salsas, guacamoles, and sauces. I love to make, salad dressings in my blender from fresh ingredients instead of using a packaged salad dressing that can be very high in fat. So a really good salad dressing that I like to make in my blender could have simply something like a pound of tomatoes with a handful or two of some nuts, whether that's macadamia nuts, walnuts, Brazil nuts, cashews, almonds, whatever. Use a handful of nuts and then some seasonings and herbs. So I might use something like the Mexican seasoning, maybe a tablespoon of miso, and some sauerkraut or kimchi, plus my seaweed powder. And that'll make an amazing dressing to put over your salad and allows you to get away from using those fat-laden bottled salad dressings, that are a processed food. Also, you can make raw soups. This is a creamy tomato basil soup. Raw soups is another thing I really like making in my blender that I do on several times a week, actually. I'll take a juice, so maybe I'll juice tomatoes or some bell peppers or some carrots or some cucumbers or some celery, and I'll take that the juice, and I'll blend that up with a handful of nuts. So could be cashews, could be walnuts, could be macadamia nuts. Actually, last night instead of nuts, I actually used 2 small avocados because this will add the creaminess. And when you use the blender to emulsify and basically take that nut and to fraction it into small particles and infuse it into the juice, you have a nice, rich, delicious, like cream of tomato soup, right? Without using any kind of animal product creams and all this kind of stuff that may cause, you know, inflammatory reactions in your body and activate your immune system, for example. Also, you can make dips and nut butters in this blender. Also, things like frozen desserts, like frozen raspberry sorbet. So that's another thing, you know, if you guys are trying to make dietary changes, the juicer and the blender together are probably two of the best appliances you could choose. You know, I really want to get people off eating things like ice cream. Besides being high in fat, it could have a lot of different, you know, additives in there. Monodiglycerides and stabilizers, guar gums, and, you know, processed sugars and artificial colors and flavors. But by simply taking some bananas with a little bit of liquid and using the stir stick that comes included stainless steel, push that into the blender blades with some frozen bananas and some raspberries, you could have your own rich sorbets that you make at home. That's 100% fresh fruit. And fresh fruit, whether frozen or fresh, always going to be better than ice cream. And then, of course, you could grind things like flax seeds and chia seeds, which are very high in essential fatty acids, or omega-3 fatty acids, that more people in America need to get into them. I like to include, you know, flax seed meal in my blended soup mixes at night to get an extra load of omega-3s. Omega-3s in the right proportions in your body can help with the inflammation, and if you're eating too many omega-6s, which is in most processed foods, you know, you may get inflammation. So I want to eat a low inflammation diet by eating all the fruits and vegetables that you could process in the Dynablend Clean. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and open this baby up and see what we got. First thing you're going to notice in the Dynablend Clean is your instruction manual and recipe book that is in multiple languages. This is actually in English, French, Spanish, and German. So that's really cool, multi-language, nice and thick here. Now, besides just having an operation manual, this also goes over the warranty. And I want to stop there in a second for the warranty. The warranty on the Dynablend machine here is a full 10-year warranty. This blows away any other warranty on any other blender on the market that I'm aware of. You know, most department store cheap blenders you'd buy, you know, might have a 90-day, maybe 1-year warranty. Even the Vitamix or something like that might have a 7-year warranty. The Dynablend has a full 10-year warranty. So if you like making a purchase of a good quality product that is going to last a long time, guaranteed, this is definitely it. I mean, this machine retails for about $200. So basically, every year you have it, it's costing you 20 bucks, right? Because if it fails, the warranty will cover any kind of repairs. And it just really shouldn't fail. It's a good, solid machine. Now, besides the warranty that's disclosed in the instruction booklet, they also have a section full of recipes. So there's over 24 recipes in here to get you started on eating a healthier lifestyle. You know, it explains how to make things like sweet and sour sauce. Actually, that sounds kind of good. Salsa and guacamoles, make your own dressings like I talked about before, make your own sauces, make sorbets, make blended smoothies. And besides just giving you the actual recipe, it'll tell you how to formulate your own by choosing a certain amount of liquid, a certain amount of other ingredients, and having optional ingredients that you get to choose. So besides just giving you the recipes, it'll get your creative mind going so that you can create your own creations with the Dynablend Clean Blender based on, you know, whatever you have in your garden or whatever's on sale and you have loaded your fridge up, fresh fruits and vegetables from the local grocery store. So I really like that they've done that, you know, more than just giving you the recipes. Oh, here's a really good recipe. Zesty papaya dressing. That sounds like a good one. You can make your own olive tapenade, tomato tapenade, presto pesto, creamy walnut pesto, rice porridge, pumpkin pate, pecan pate, orange cashew delight. That's a pudding. That sounds really good. All different kinds of stuff. Oh, baby food even. You can make baby foods in the Dynablend. So yeah, the recipe book is a wealth of knowledge. And also the instructions, make sure you read them before using it. Alright, so let's see what else we got in the box here. Alright, so the next thing we got is the stir stick or scoop here. This can also be used to push things into the blender. most high power blenders do come with a plastic tamper. The Dynablend is the only blender I know of that comes with a stainless steel one. I've had friends that actually push their tamper in to the machine without the top on, which I do not recommend you guys do, and then pieces of plastic go in to your mixture. With this, I mean, don't stick this in without the top on, number one. But this is all stainless steel, so it's not going to damage it. It's probably going to damage the blades. But I like that. So besides helping you push things into the blender blade, if you're doing mixtures that are actually quite thick, this can also be used as a measuring scoop. It measures out at 1 tablespoon inside here. And also you can be used to scoop the delicious sauces, dressings, and recipes, and puddings, and sorbets out of the blender once you're done. So I really like that. This is a nice scoop actually. What I use this for also, it sits in my drawer with all my utensils. If you got like a young coconut meat and you want to get the meat out of it, this is the best tool to use. It's got a nice edge on here so you can really get the young coconut meat out. It has a long shank on here to get in the coconut. I mean, this is just one of my favorite spoons overall in my house nowadays, despite using it, with the Dynablend. All right, what else we got in here? The Dynablend comes with a few extra silicone gaskets, which actually go between the stainless steel blade assembly and the glass carafe. So we'll show you guys that in a minute. And then I guess next, let's go ahead and pull this guy out. Now, one of the things I like that Tribest does is, they've tried to get away from using, things like that styrofoam stuff that's not recyclable, that's really not the best for the environment, although mealworms can digest it, of all creatures. But they're using all paper products to, as much as possible, to house the products that you're shipped so they are not damaged in shipping. So this can be composted and or recycled. Inside here, let's see what we got here. Okay, so we got a few things. We got the glass carafe right here. This is a tempered glass, very strong and durable. And we have the motor base. Also, we have the blender top here, as well as a wrench or spanner tool to take the blade out of the glass carafe, which shouldn't normally be necessary. If you just put dish soap and some water, run the blender on a 60-second cycle, maybe once or twice, that tends to clean the blender out fairly well. But every once in a while, you may want to take the blade assembly out and clean the gasket and everything. And then, of course, when they get kind of funky, they give you a few extras as well. So I really like that. I guess going over all these different parts, number one, we have the main motor base here. Stainless steel on the bottom of this base. I really like it a lot. It looks it looks upscale. And then on the controls here, this is intelligent controls. This is computer controlled inside here. It's not just like one of those dumb blenders with buttons or dials. So besides having a dial that you can actually turn the machine on, and then you could actually choose to use the little control here. It's like a volume control on those old-fashioned TVs made in the 70s. I don't think they have those anymore. But basically you could rotate the dial to a low or high speed, as low as high as you want it. In this mode, it just runs as long as you have that dial on, and then you can just go ahead and turn it off to turn it off. Now, one of the things I like to do when blending my mixtures is actually just turn it on one click, just to kind of get the blender stirring really slowly, right? Because if you just turn on high speed instantly, the stuff's gonna glug up and hit the top of the blender, which I don't like so much. So you just start it off at one click, and then slowly you gradually ramp this up all the way to high speed, so you get a nice vortex in there, pulling everything into the blades. Now, aside from having the manual controls, this also has some pre-programmed controls. So if you don't want to have to babysit your blender, computer controlled, let the computer do the work for you. I wish I could do that a lot more in my life. But there's three pre-programmed controls on here. You have a button for a 60-second blend, you have a 60-second combination blend, and you have a 30-second pulse blend. So each one of these will run for the pre-designated time at a pre-programmed speed, and then and cycle, and then shut itself off. I'll be demoing some of those in just a minute. Now this motor base, nice and heavy duty, as I mentioned before, 1.1 horsepower, 850 watts. So that's that's the most powerful glass carafe blender on the market. Now let's talking about this glass carafe I really like, because this is a 100% tempered glass. This is measured up to 60 ounces, although I wouldn't necessarily fill it that high because you do need to have some airspace in the top of the blender for it to work properly. And if you deal in milliliters, it's 1,800 milliliters, which is almost 2 liters. And then normally, as I mentioned before, you shouldn't have to take out this blade assembly for cleaning. You know, after you're done using it, rinse it out and then put a little bit of soap and water in there, run the blender on a 60-second program, and then just rinse it under the sink. That should do it pretty good. And then set this on your drain rack upside down to dry out. Now, I do not recommend that you guys dishwash the Tribest Dynablend blender carafe, or actually any other blender carafe for that matter. You know, the biggest problem with blender carafes, or the main moving part in a blender carafe, is the bearing assembly. And the bearing assembly is meant to get liquid on it from the top half because they have seals and whatnot, so liquid cannot get into the bearing assembly if it's coming from above. But the problem is coming from below, aka the back door, you may have issues because there's not the bearing or the seals in there to keep the water out, or you know, keep water out as well as it should. And especially when there's standing water in these, water tends to seep in and find a way to get to where it needs to go, especially when you have a leak in your house. So yeah, so even on a Vitamix, you know, I've blown out my Vitamix bearings by dishwashing, you know, my Vitamix carafe, and then, you know, the bearing will prematurely fail. Now, if your bearing prematurely fails on your Dynablend because you're dishwashing it, it will not be covered under warranty. But if your Dynablend blender bearing fails just due to no fault of your own, then it should be covered under warranty. So if you do need to remove the bearing and blade assembly, they give you a little wrench here to do that, and this wrench will fit into the bottom of the carafe only one way, so then it locks into place. And then there's a little arrow on here that says open and close. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we're just going to go the direction of open, and we just turn it, and as it turns, it opens up. Then we're going to go ahead and tip this over and push this down, and the bearing and blade assembly will come right out. And that's that there. And then in the bottom of the unit, this is where that silicone gasket is housed. So just to make sure you put that silicone gasket in if you do remove the blade assembly. I do recommend probably maybe like once a month or maybe once every 2 months, depending on how much you use the blender, to remove this gasket assembly, to, you know, do a nice deep clean on it and to wash it appropriately. Now I want to go over next this stainless steel blade and base assembly. You know, unlike other blenders that may have a glass carafe, many of them actually have a stainless steel blade, but then this assembly would be plastic, so you're kind of defeating the purpose of having a glass carafe. But on the Tribest Dynablend Clean, this is all a stainless steel on the bottom. In addition, on the bottom of this machine, they have a metal clutch that will go into the base of the unit to turn it. So this is nice, durable, and strong. So this part is the part that's most likely to fail on any blender, and on this blender it is covered under the 10-year warranty. That alone, in my eyes, makes this worth the price of the machine, because on some machines like the Vitamix, for example, you know, a whole new bearing assembly could cost 80 bucks, 90 bucks, right? On a Blendtec blender, you have to buy the whole carafe. You can't just replace this part, and the whole carafe could cost $80 to $100, you know. So this is a much better value in blending. To put this guy back in, you're just basically going to drop this in, make sure it gets fully seated down in there, make sure your gasket's lined up properly. Take this wrench tool, put it in there until it locks into place, and then we're going to go to the direction of close. Close it until it's nice and tight. You don't have to like crank it in there too tight or whatever, you won't be able to get it out. And then you're all done. The other thing I like about this blender, it has a built-in safety feature that does not allow the blender to start unless you have the carafe in place. If the carafe is not in place, the blender will not start up. So I guess without further ado, what I want to do next for you guys is actually use this blender for the first time and make my lunch today, which is going to be a green smoothie. So I'm going to show you guys how I make a green smoothie and how it works in the Dynablend Clean Blender. So now I'm going to share with you guys how I make my lunch, or AKA a green smoothie. This may be a new concept to many of you guys, and many of you guys, you probably already make green smoothies every day. But the green smoothie is one of my favorite ways to include more of the most beneficial foods on the planet, fruits and vegetables, but more specifically the leafy greens. That's why it's called green smoothie, because it contains hopefully copious amounts of greens, and I want you guys to supersize the greens you guys are putting in your green smoothie. Many green smoothie recipes may have like a cup of greens, and to me that's laughable. We really want to put a lot of greens in there and the least amount of fruit that you guys could afford to get in there while still making it taste good. This is especially important if you have kids, right? If you got kids, you want to put a lot of fruit and a little bit of vegetables or leafy greens to start, and find a place where they really like it a lot. And then slowly but surely increase the amount of greens until they don't complain anymore. Right? No, until they complain. Right? This way you could pack as many greens as possible, because as good as fruits are, most Americans and people around the world, and that for that matter, are deficient in leafy green consumption. My goal every day is to eat 2 pounds of leafy greens, or 32 ounces of leafy greens in my diet. And by juicing a pound, which makes a cup of juice, and by simply putting a whole bunch of leafy greens in the blender, turning it into a delicious green smoothie, I could easily do just that, especially on these upcoming hot summer days. A nice cool green smoothie like I'm making today is a really delicious and healthy treat, instead of like a milkshake and Coke and soda and all these things. Anyways, to make this green smoothie with the Dynablend Clean Blender, super simple, super easy. When you plug the blender in, it's going to flash red. Then you're going to click it up once. And then what's going to happen is these bottom buttons are going to flash, letting you know that the blender is ready to either press one of the pre-programmed functions or use the variable speed control knob. We'll be using some of the pre-programmed functions and maybe a mixture of actually also blending myself. So to blend in the Dynablend Clean Blender, or any other blender for that matter, I do encourage you guys to stage your ingredients. This means you will have a stage 1 blend, stage 2 blend, and then a stage 3 blend, or maybe sometimes it might just be stage 1 and stage 2. Many blenders, people pile the stuff in and just blend it up, and that may cause some problems with maybe not getting a nice consistency, maybe getting air pockets in the bottom, making you use the tamper. And I want to not use a tamper if I can, because you know what? To me, it's just one extra part that I have to clean, and I don't want to have to clean any extra parts. So let's just blend intelligently. Now, when blending, the other thing that you really want to do, you want to focus on blending the minimal time possible to get the desired consistency you want. The longer you blend, the more oxidative damage you are doing to the most beneficial phytochemicals and phytonutrients in especially the leafy greens. So we want to blend whatever you're blending always the shortest amount of time to get the desired consistency, and don't just like leave it running for 5 minutes and then come back. You could actually make hot soups that way. That's wouldn't be a good thing in my opinion, because we're trying to keep it least amount of time. If you want to make a hot soup, blend something up in here, heat it in a saucepan. A saucepan on a low is a much more efficient way than to use your blender at high speed for several minutes to get it to heat up due to all the friction. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take the top off, and I like how this top seals very nicely. And we're going to go ahead and take this carafe off. And before I start making the smoothie, actually I want to show you guys on the bottom of this blender. This blender, unlike other blenders, actually has a little fuse here, so you could actually unscrew this fuse, which is a really nice feature. So in case like the fuse should blow and you overload the machine, you're not going to damage the machine. This fuse will blow, and then you can just simply get another one of these fuses, and then put this back in, so your blender will be up and running. So that's really cool. I like that feature a lot there, that that this has a removable fuse. I think all blenders should have this kind of feature here. Alright, so now let's go ahead and make our smoothie. So we're going to take our carafe here, and we're going to do this in like 3 stages. So the first stage is add the liquid ingredients first. Always add the most liquid ingredients first. In this case, we're adding about 4 cups of coconut water to our blender carafe. Next, to give our green smoothie a milkshake style consistency, we're going to add some frozen foods. And what we have here are some frozen bananas. So what I do is, when the bananas are spotted up at the store on sale for cheap, they're these, you put them in those bags, I buy a ton of them, and then I peel them all, put them in the freezer, and I freeze them solid, and then I use them on hot summer days. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the frozen bananas and we're going to break it up into smaller pieces. This will make it easier on the blender than to like putting in big large chunks, right? And we're probably going to put, that's one whole banana, so 1.5 bananas. And we'll put about maybe 2 frozen bananas in there. Drop that in. Now we're going to go ahead and put the top on. Drop that into place. Next thing is we're going to go ahead and get this blender started. So initially when you plug the machine on, this red light is going to flash. Then you could turn it to the on position. The red light will stay stable, and then these buttons will begin to flash. So he has a 30-second blend, 60-second combo blend, or 30-second pulse blend. I think we're going to go ahead and just do a 60-second combo blend, and what's going to happen is the blender will vary the speeds. It'll like stop for a second to pull things in. It'll vary the speeds to get a good complete blend. We're just going to go ahead and hit that. And it's going to start up, and then it's going to stop, and then it's going to start up again. Okay, it's cycling through the different speeds. Now it's actually running at the highest speed. We're going to let it run, I don't know, maybe for like 30 seconds or something. And then if you decide that you don't want it to run anymore, you can just go ahead and click it to off. That'll stop the cycle. Otherwise, it'll stop after 60 seconds. This is already a pretty nice consistency in here. But we're not done yet. What we have to do now is we're going to go ahead and add our fresh greens. So what I'm using today, I'm using the Earthbound Farm Organic half and half, baby spinach, baby arugula. Each one of these are 5 ounces of greens. And so both these combined is about 10 ounces of greens. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and add the 5 ounces of greens that are pre-washed, and that's why I like these so much, right into the blender. Alright, now that we got the 5 ounces added to the blender, we're going to go ahead and put the top on. Oops, losing my greens. And we're going to go ahead and put it back on there. Now we're going to probably blend this up just on manual mode this time. I'm going to show you guys how we start it up on real slow, turn it to on, turn it on one step, it's running really slow, then we're going to slowly crank this up. You're going to hear the blender's speed increase all the way to maximum. Alright, so I blended long enough so that I can't see any large particles in there. I see some particles, but they're little like dots of stuff. Looks like I'm making quite a large smoothie today, so we might not even be able to fit in the next 5 ounces of greens without pouring out some. So I want to show you guys the consistency that the Dynablend Clean has made so far. Pretty clean. I'm not seeing any chunks coming out. You guys see any chunks? Man, I gotta try it. I'm so thirsty. Delicious. Actually, that's quite a good job. I am tasting some aeration, you know, but that's what blenders do. But no big chunks of food. Next, we're going to go ahead and add another 5 ounces of the greens. Now, I do encourage you guys, when you do make green smoothies, many of you guys may get into a routine of like making the same thing day in, day out. I want to encourage you guys to switch it on up. Like, although you might always keep bananas the same because it actually has a nice texture, makes it a nice consistency for you guys, I would highly encourage you guys to rotate out your greens. You know, as much as there's a lot of nutrients and phytochemicals in greens that are beneficial, right? We want to get different kinds of these nutrients into us. For example, you know, spinach is not as anti-cancer as, for instance, kale is. And actually this mixture also has the arugula, which may even help, you know, clean out your arteries and keep your blood pressure low. But also different greens have and may contain other anti-nutrients. You know, the spinach, for example, contains oxalic acid. So we don't want to get too much of this stuff into us we want to rotate it always so we're getting small amounts of this stuff and not just have like spinach banana smoothies all day. But maybe today have spinach banana, tomorrow have lettuce banana, the next day have kale banana, the next day have arugula banana, the next day have dandelion green banana. That's actually not going to taste so good. You know, but you get my drift. You know, you're always going to change it up. So now we're going to go ahead and blend this up. Once again, we're going to do the variable speed, turn it on, and then we're just going to start it up slow and then crank it to high. So that was about a 30-second blend, and once again, if you guys look in that carafe, I mean, to me, I can't really see any large bits of greens left in there. Now, I was blending the baby greens today. I like these a lot because they taste a lot milder and they blend a lot better than those hard, big, old, mature pieces of kale, especially with the stem. So if you're blending, you know, kale and whatnot, you want to remove the stem because that would generally leave more particulate in there. We just want to kind of blend those leaves up. So once again, we got a nice consistency. And this is even darker green than before. Now, if it's not sweet enough for you, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add additional fresh bananas in addition to your frozen bananas. So for this, we're just going to go ahead and peel this banana. This banana to me could be a little bit riper, but this is what I got today, so that's what I'm going to use. Once again, we're going to go ahead and take this off and put it in small chunks in the blender. Now what we're going to do next is actually we're going to use an innovative feature on the Dynablend Clean that's actually not available on any other blender. It's actually the pulse blend feature. You know, the pulse blend feature is designed specifically for doing things like fresh bananas into your smoothie. So let's see, we're going to go ahead and turn it to the on position. Now we're going to hit the 30-second pulse blend, and as soon as I do, what's going to happen is this blender will run high and turn off. It'll run high and turn off. And it's going to continue this for 30 seconds, which we may shut it off early. We don't need to probably do a full 30 seconds. But the reason why it does this, when it blends on high, it blends up that soft texture of the banana, and then it stops so that all the liquid could now go back down into the blade. The big pieces of banana will go back in the blade. It'll turn high, blend that banana up, that's really soft consistency, and then turn it off. You know, if you were just to sit here and turn on high, you're going to basically be over blending your banana. Blending it too much, it's going to cause excess oxidation. It's going to turn your smoothie, if you're, say, doing water and banana, you know, much more deeper brownish yellow instead of just the yellow of the banana. So let's just go ahead and hit the 30-second pulse blend, and I'll show you guys how it works. On, off. On, off. On. Off. Yeah, it's just going to go ahead and continue this for 30 seconds. Alright, so it looks like we got it done. I don't even think we had to run the whole time. We can go ahead and take this out. And now we even have a more delicious smoothie. I'm just going to drink it out the carafe. Man. That's a delicious smoothie, nice fine texture. I taste no grit in my mouth. And if you look at that, look at that. Can you guys see that? I mean, I can't see any grit in there. This blender did an amazingly superb job of breaking down all the fibers of the spinach arugula as well as the banana with its nice fast spinning up to 23,000 RPM blades. It's a glass carafe, stainless steel blade assembly, and stainless steel bottom of the carafe as well. I think my first test with this Dynablend Clean is definitely a success. If you guys are looking for a tempered glass blender, you know, that will minimize and reduce the amount of plastic in your life, I think the Dynablend Clean Blender is the one you guys should be buying. Now, if you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below because I will soon be comparing the Dynablend Clean to the Vitamix and also the NutriBullet, two other popular blenders on the market, to share with you guys how this compares to those two models. In addition, also be sure to support me and my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. That allows me to continue to make these educational videos, to be able to demonstrate the machines to you, to be able to compare the machines to you as well. So I appreciate all you guys that have made your purchase in the past at discountjuicers.com. and for those of you guys that'll make your purchase in the future at discountjuicers.com. Also be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 450 episodes on this channel comparing different juicers and blenders amongst one another, so you guys could make the best choice for you. And be sure to thumbs this video up, the little thumbs up button down below, to let me know that you guys liked it, and I'll be sure to do more videos with the Dynablend Clean Blender. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get to enjoying my green smoothie. I've definitely worked up an appetite making it today. So the Dynablend Clean Blender is now available at discountjuicers.com. Be sure to check that link down below to get directly to the Dynablend Clean Blender and learn more and purchase it. And I guess that's pretty much it for today. Once again, my name is John Kohler with discountjuicers.com. Be sure to visit discountjuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors. Alright, this is John Kohler at discountjuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you today. And today we're not going to talk about the juicers. Today we got the Liquip 110.5 and we got the Slow Start juicer. I'm actually not even going to show you guys and talk to you guys too much about juicers today. What I really want to bring you guys this episode for is to share with you guys how juicing saved